That's sad. That's sad. So this dude been clout chasing since he tried to tell the Geisha black girl, tried to tell her that me and him was a thing. Back then, I checked him back then. So when I realized that his page got all this stuff about me on his page.
Y'all listen, when it comes to Claressa, I'm starting to get a little soft spot for her. I really am. I really feel sorry for her.
She didn't hold back. She openly claimed she had taken another woman's husband, almost like she was celebrating it. For a while, it even seemed like things had worked out in her favor. People online were glued to the situation, following every update like it was unfolding in real time, convinced she had come out on top. The atmosphere across social media was intense. Discussions were happening everywhere, and it felt like she was steering the narrative without much resistance. But then, unexpectedly, the situation began to shift. The story surrounding Claressa's shield started to lose its strength, slowly unraveling in front of everyone. At first, many people didn't feel sorry for her at all. The situation came across as bold in a way that didn't sit well with some audiences.
So I don't know whose team you think I'm on, but I'm on your team. And like I said, Cruz and Remy spent time together on Christmas. I got pictures of them together. I ain't even got.
But as more details emerged and everything played out step by step, perceptions began to change. What was surfacing didn't feel like random gossip anymore. It started to look like a deeper, more complicated situation. There were even claims being made with someone insisting they had proof of private moments, including time allegedly spent together during the holidays. This made it feel less like online chatter and more like a real-life situation unfolding piece by piece. By the end of it, it seemed like one person quietly regained control while the other was left expo. Claressa wasn't subtle about any of it either. She made her claims very public, repeatedly referring to him as her man across social media interviews and live streams. She built a narrative around their relationship and presented it as something secure and established. Meanwhile, the public watched closely, analyzing every post and appearance as if it were part of an ongoing series.
So I felt sorry for Claressa when she was in there blowing a bag, $30,000, and then she had to take the bag to Pep.
Each time she showcased the relationship, the story grew bigger and louder. But eventually that image started to break down. Reports began circulating that blogger Tasha K had stepped in, sharing claims that echoed what some had already been speculating privately. According to those reports, Papoose was no longer involved with Claressa and had returned to his wife, Remy Ma. Sources connected to Remy Ma suggested that the same man once presented as a long-term partner had suddenly left, packing up, heading back to New York and reconnecting with his wife without any public explanation.
Apparently, Claressa spent Christmas alone in the Louis Vuitton store, racking up about $30,000, and
there was no lengthy explanation and no public goodbye, just a quiet exit that instantly shifted how people viewed the situation. After that, communications seemed to fade away, yet the silence itself became part of the story. Reports claimed calls were left unanswered and messages received no response. As events continued unfolding, what should have stayed behind closed doors appeared to spill into public view. Emotions, tension, and uncertainty were no longer hidden, giving many the impression that the situation was no longer being carefully managed. Soon, another controversy entered the conversation. Online observers started drawing comparisons between Claressa and Remy Ma, suggesting that certain choices made by Claressa closely resembled Remy's style. Discussions focused on everything from fashion and jewelry to vacations, and even the way photos were taken. What some initially dismissed as coincidence gradually became a topic of widespread debate. The speculation grew even stronger when rumors surfaced claiming she had tattooed his name, adding another layer to the already heated online discussion. As opinions flooded social media, Remy Ma largely stayed out of the public back and forth. Instead, she continued making appearances with her family, wearing her wedding ring, and carrying on without publicly addressing the rumors. Later, photos allegedly showing her and Papoose still sharing a home began circulating online, leaving many people even more confused about what was really happening. Just when the story seemed complicated enough, fresh allegations linked to Tasha K emerged. According to those claims, Claressa may not have been part of a long-term relationship at all, but rather involved in a temporary arrangement while private matters surrounding the marriage were being resolved. As the narrative evolved, attention shifted away from the relationship itself and toward perceptions of control. Some felt Claressa appeared to be losing her grip on the story, while Papoose seemed to move between both sides without publicly defining his position. Meanwhile, Remy's decision to remain quiet was viewed by many as a powerful statement in itself. Additional reports suggested Claressa spent the holidays alone, while stories about luxury shopping excursions further fueled public speculation. What once appeared bold and self-assured slowly began to look, in the eyes of critics, like a very public unraveling. At the start, Claressa projected confidence and certainty. She appeared open about the relationship, and her actions seemed to reinforce that image. Over time, however, some observers felt that confidence began to take on a different tone. Her posts became more frequent and increasingly intense, creating the impression that she was trying to validate the narrative rather than simply living it. As rumors continued spreading, questions emerged about whether the relationship was truly as stable as it appeared. While Claressa celebrated it publicly, some speculated that the marriage she believed was finished may not have ended at all, and that the woman she thought had been replaced may never have lost her place. In this version of events, Claressa built a highly visible public story while Remy stayed largely silent, focusing on her marriage away from social media. Then Tasha K's commentary added fuel to growing doubts that had already begun circulating online. People started pointing to details they believed didn't quite add up. Why was Claressa reportedly spending holidays alone if everything was going well? Why did Papoose seem absent at certain times? And why did some of their public moments appear overly polished, leading critics to question how natural they really were? The conversation intensified further when claims surfaced suggesting the luxury lifestyle displayed online may not have been financed by Papoose. According to those allegations, Claressa may have been covering those expenses herself, while allowing people to assume otherwise. That claim dramatically changed the discussion. The focus shifted from romance to image management, perception, and public presentation. Viewers began revisiting old videos and social media posts with a more skeptical eye. Details that once seemed insignificant suddenly drew attention. Expressions appeared less spontaneous. Timing looked unusually convenient. Moments that had previously felt authentic were now being interpreted as carefully orchestrated. As public perception changed, a new theory began circulating. What if Claressa wasn't being chosen in the way many believed, but was instead playing a role within a much larger and more complicated situation? As these allegations continued spreading, a growing number of people began looking at the situation from a different perspective. The spotlight gradually shifted toward Papoose, with some questioning whether his level of emotional and financial commitment had been overstated from the start. Certain rumors suggested this wasn't an isolated situation, but part of a larger pattern. According to online speculation, luxury gifts and expensive purchases may have been used repeatedly to create an appearance of devotion, even if the reality behind the scenes was far more complex. As these discussions gained momentum, social media users started piecing together various claims and observations, building a broader narrative around the unfolding drama. The story became less about a simple relationship and more about a married man connected to multiple women while balancing different situations and maintaining a carefully crafted public image. In this interpretation, Claressa was not viewed as a unique exception but as another chapter in a pattern that critics believed had existed for some time. Despite continuing to post content that portrayed a happy and thriving relationship, reports suggested the off-camera reality may have been very different. At the same time, many began speculating that the marriage people assumed was over could have been quietly finding its footing again, without public announcements or dramatic declarations. There were no major revelations or headline-making confirmations. Instead, small developments slowly accumulated, leading observers to draw their own conclusions. One of the earliest signs that fueled speculation was Papoose's reported departure and return to New York, followed by a period of unexplained silence. He largely vanished from public view. There were no updates, no explanations, and very little activity, leaving followers with more questions than answers. As curiosity grew, online conversations intensified. Comparisons between Claressa and Remy Ma became increasingly common, with critics examining everything from social media captions to fashion choices and overall presentation. What some initially dismissed as coincidence was eventually interpreted by others as imitation. Certain observers even argued that Claressa appeared to be stepping into a position that had never truly become vacant. Then another rumor captured attention: the alleged tattoo. For many people, permanently displaying the name of a man who is still legally married raised concerns rather than admiration. Instead of being viewed as a romantic gesture, critics saw it as a sign of deep emotional investment in a situation filled with uncertainty. The fact that Papoose remained legally married only added another layer of complexity. Public appearances continued to fuel discussion. Claressa stayed active online and visible at events, regularly sharing updates about her life, while Papoose often seemed noticeably absent from the spotlight. Meanwhile, Remy Ma projected stability and consistency, continuing to present a united family image. Reports of possible financial disagreements further complicated the narrative and added to the perception that things behind the scenes were far less secure than they appeared. Over time, public opinion began to shift. What once looked like a confident and solid relationship started to appear increasingly fragile. Some observers felt Claressa was carrying the public narrative on her own, while rumors suggested Papoose may have been reconnecting with his previous life away from the cameras. As months passed, many noticed a change in Claressa's online presence. Her posts seemed more reactive, her live streams longer, and her tone less certain than before. At the same time, Papoose remained largely silent, fueling speculation that he had already begun creating distance between himself and the situation. Eventually, the contrast between public perception and alleged reality became a major talking point. For many observers, the story evolved beyond romance and became a discussion about image, influence, and public perception. One person remained highly visible and outspoken, while another stayed quiet and largely out of view.